Hi again, everyone. I'm Ollie Matthews. This is the Narcissistic Resistance, and this resistance video is sponsored by contribution from Anonymous. And this is Anonymous from the video I just did. The narcissist tries to add you to their horde. And here's her story. Hey, Ollie, please don't use my name. So the last video you did for me really kicked ass. I enjoyed it. I'm kind of scared to share my story because the truth is I'm a recovering drug addict. I knew I was a drug addict since the 4th grade. I had it so hard at home that I would tell myself, I can't wait to grow up and get drugs. The story that I'm about to share is, in my opinion, terrible, and I have a part in it. A part that really sucks, and I don't think I'll ever live it down. I kind of walk around with a lot of guilt and shame. Like, I'll be at work, I'll start crying, but they know I'm nuts, so they'll just leave me alone, which is good. My drug use started early. I would be in 9th grade and get grounded from my home for 2 weeks at a time, and I would go party everywhere I could. I was 15 and really dumb, so I took advantage of and exposed to a lot of things that I really shouldn't have been. I got with my high school sweetheart, and we were together for 7 years. But him and his family treated me like scum, and it sucked. I dealt with it for a long time. I was a wreck at that time of my life. Anyone from a mile away could tell I was an addict, and it was not pretty. I would go get drugs for my boyfriend at the time and his family, and they would enjoy themselves and talk crap on me after the fact. So I was pretty fed up by the time my kid's dad came into the picture. He was my boyfriend's best friend's stepdad. He was 42, I was 24, and he also cooked crystal meth. He got me high and did something that no one had done for me in such a long time. He made me feel good about myself. The whole phase of falling in love with him was more addicting than the meth we smoked every day, and I got hooked. And I was hooked to getting him to approve of me. The police found one of his meth labs, so we got out of the state as fast as we could. We moved to the East Coast where he would use drugs and ruined hotel rooms, and life really unraveled for me in a major way. I'll call my kid's dad, Greg, for this story. Greg would choke me out, and he would constantly go online and have relationships with other women. After 6 months of being with him, he just stopped wanting to have sex, which was insane to me. Meth is a drug that goes hand in hand with sex for real. Yeah, I know. I've seen these guys. They just debauchery. A lot of them just jerk off, just like endlessly. I thought I was so gross, that's why he didn't want to be with me. This would be a constant theme throughout the relationship. He really would only have sex with me when he got caught cheating or we were apart for a while. 18 months into staying on the East Coast, we moved to the West Coast to grow pot with a friend of mine. I was excited because we were going to quit meth and grow pot, the most amazing substance on planet Earth, which is what I thought at the time. 6 months later, Greg got arrested on a pot farm in the mountains because of the warrant that he had from the meth lab that had gotten busted 2 years ago. I was stranded in California for 3 months. My parents told me that because I didn't go to church, they would not help me get home. So I wound up living with some people who were using heavily, and I got tweaked out and called my aunt, who got me a plane ticket home. Greg was there to meet me at the airport, and I got pregnant that night. His friend had bailed him out. How did he get out? How did he get out and get... Greg got put on drug court, which is the best thing that ever happened to me. I got clean and learned that despite the various mental problems that I have been dealing with in my life, I can face life clean. I went to every NA meeting right along with Greg. He was on drug court for 2.5 years. He almost got kicked off for trying to sleep with the other women on drug court. And when people tried to tell me what was happening, I did not believe them. Right. And do you know why this is all happening? Do you know why? Okay. Because your parents were borderline personality disordered hoarders. Okay. Who would only take you in when you were like the garbage they were picking up and hoarding in their house. Because you had so little value on yourself because your parents valued literal garbage over you. So what kind of value are you going to put on yourself? Of course you're going to fall for a meth head, 20 years, twice your age, a meth head twice your age. Who's just going to drag you further down to the level where you'll be garbage enough to where your father actually will take you in. Remember, when your father was going to take you in was the point where you were getting kicked out of a homeless shelter. It's like this is what you have to do to yourself to make yourself acceptable to your parents. No way Greg would do that to me. They were all lying. Greg told me they were out to mess with our family, so I isolated myself from everyone that was on drug court, which were the only people that I knew, because the town that he was on drug court in was an hour and a half away from my hometown. The day that Greg graduated drug court was the day that he bought an 8-ball of meth, and 2 weeks later he would quit his job and start selling weed in the same home that we were raising our 2-year-old. 2 weeks later, he would start choking me and telling me what a piece of trash that I was. I called my mom, dad, and aunt and told them about everything except the drug part of it, because I felt if I told them, they would not want to help me, even though I had my daughter. Also, I didn't tell them about the drugs because I was using too and was ashamed. The response was that I couldn't make it on my own and I had to stay with Greg. So after, right, because you still weren't thrown out yet. You still hadn't debased yourself low enough yet. So after a time of using drugs and Greg selling weed, he had faked a resume and applied to a job that was on the East Coast that he got. It was pretty amazing because this was a job that someone should really have to go to college for, and not only he got this job, he performed at it for 6 months. I mean, I know he's probably Satan's best friend, but the ability he had to con those people at his job and adapt to that office job when he only ever worked in construction was pretty miraculous. Anyways, he moved us to the East Coast and I was excited for the fresh start. I thought we would stay off drugs and things would be better like they were when he was on drug court. We ended up in the mountains this time instead of living on the beach, and meth in the mountains really seemed to mix because there was tons of meth in them hills. He started openly cheating on me and would give me meth to calm me down, and I would use it because it would numb me. Of course, it took a huge amount at this point to calm me down, and I know that makes no sense, by the way, but it did calm me down in a strange way. My belly at the time was getting big, and I refused to believe I was pregnant, but I was. Oh my God, you were smoking meth and pregnant? I could not stop using drugs at this point, and so Greg told me that we could be a family if I went to the hospital and told him the truth. So that's what I did. I told him the truth, and I haven't used anything since that day. I got a DFS case, and it was the best thing that ever happened to me and the kids. Greg had fake pee. Me and him kept fake pee on hand at all times in case of a drug test. So he went to DFS and took a drug test with it and told him that he would be filing for full custody of our daughter. He also moved in another woman to our home and let me know while I was in the hospital that the baby I was carrying was going to be retarded and it was not his. I was only in the hospital for 3 days, and the same day I went in, he moved this woman into our home and gave her my car. I never got that car back, and I was still making payments on it. I was able to get it repossessed, but that took 8 months because we didn't know where she was living. Well, our home got raided because of my aunt. She wouldn't sleep. She wouldn't sleep until she got my daughter out of that house. They found a meth pipe in the new girl's purse, and Greg told them it was mine, which the cops laughed at because Greg had gotten a restraining order on me when I was released from the hospital at 6 months pregnant. I was homeless with no car. I was restrained from my vehicle. To this day, I still cannot believe that the hospital discharged me with nowhere to go. They paid for a taxi cab to the OBGYN for an ultrasound, and that was it. I actually went to a church that was just hysterical, and I told the first man I saw what was going on, and he bought me a plane ticket home. Turns out he was a doctor, a retired OBGYN, if you can believe that. He still talks to my aunt, and she tells him what me and the kids are up to. I have not looked back at this time. I had to stay at my parents' house when they had a problem with me going to NA, among other problems they had with me being there. So I moved into a homeless shelter for pregnant women. I had to go to NA while I was there, and since I had moved, I still go to NA every week, and I do my best to continue to grow from the person that I was. I don't ever think that I can forgive myself for getting high and ignoring that I was pregnant. The court gave me full custody of the kids because I was honest and I went above and beyond to follow their directions, and they also put a full order of protection on Greg so he can't talk to us. Greg still hits me up and says stuff like, will you let me talk to our daughter, or are you going to tell her dad abandoned her? Well, he did abandon her because he quit his job and moved back to California to grow weed. He doesn't ask about our son, who was born healthy and is a happy baby boy. The thing is that I will respond to him. He stole my dog, so I talk to him when he reaches out. He makes sure to bring up that I used when I was pregnant, and he doesn't seem to give a crap that his children are cared for by myself. Well, obviously he wouldn't, I guess. I really don't get why he hits me up. He acts like he is so broken up from losing our daughter, but he won't go to court or get clean. I wish more than anything that the day he came home from graduating drug court with meth, I would have just called the cops. I had thought that I loved him so much. I mean, I loved this man who treated me like garbage. I would not accept the idea that things would never get better. I mean, I deserved to get torn to pieces because I was willing to allow my daughter to live in that environment right along with me. I went through life for so long just hurting from my parents messing with me or Greg picking me up where they left off, and I felt it was good enough for me. But I knew it was not okay for my daughter. I really felt that I did not have an out because I was too ashamed to tell people about the drugs, and Greg would take all our money. Even when I made money, he would take it. I started to reach out a bit at the end, but I was so messed up, people just thought I was a nut, and I guess they were right. I was a tweaked out nut. Anyways, that's my story, and it sucks, but it's mine. I'm killing myself to relearn how to live because I have these 2 kids who are completely dependent on me at this point, and I can't be a child anymore. So I've stepped up. If it weren't for the kids, I don't believe that I'd be alive. I don't deserve to have them, so to be able to care for them is an honor. I go to bed sore and I wake up sore. Do you think Greg will move on and stop hitting me up at some point? Also, this is kind of a weird question, but here it goes. Do you think that after a person goes through all this crap for so long that they can ever feel better? Thanks for your channel. It's helped me out a lot. It's up to Greg. You can't force Greg to stop hitting you up. Greg will, I don't even know, look, the problem is Greg is the legitimate father of your 2 children. Meth head, drug addict, liar, abusive, all of it. He is. What he is. He's still their father. Now, you still have to do what's best for your children. So, the difference is going to be for Greg is whether Greg gets clean or not before you can have any type of relationship. See, the only thing you should be saying to Greg at this point is to get yourself clean. And you'll know he gets himself clean when he comes and he apologizes to make amends for all the bullshit he's put you through. The woman, the stealing of your car, the abuse, all of it. All of it. Until that happens, he's not clean. And he's never gonna get clean. It doesn't appear. Meth is a motherfucker. Meth is a motherfucker of a drug. As far as you ever being able to feel better, it's a day-to-day process. You know, every day you have to be able to walk yourself back to why you got to this point to begin with, why you were broken in the first place. And that still starts with your family and your parents devaluing you to the point where you think you're in love with a meth addict 40, twice your age. You should never necessarily want him to stop hitting you up. You want him to eventually call you and say, I've been through rehab, I'm clean, and I'm sorry. But he's a narcissist, so you're probably never going to hear that. So until you hear those words, until he makes the decision on his own, there's nothing you can do but protect yourself and your children. Yeah, you made some really, really bad choices and bad decisions, okay? But you understand why, and you fixed it, and you're like, I can't do this, and I can't do this to my children. So you're not a bad person. You're not like them. Understand who made you like this in the first place. Understand who broke you. And that's your family. So, I hope that helps. Thank you so much for another contribution and story, Anonymous. I really appreciate it. Thank you to everybody watching. Please leave any opinions or advice in the comment section below. And again, if you want your story read on the channel, you have a topic you'd like me to cover, a narcissist you'd like to expose, you'd like to have a private video made, or sponsor a video like this for someone who needs help and can't afford it, or you just like to make a contribution to the channel in general to keep it supported, growing, and successful, because this channel survives 100% on contributions from you guys. Without you, all of this goes away. So if you like what you see here and you want to see more videos like this, you know what to do with the PayPal and email links in the description box. Also, please like and share this video wherever you can. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't, and be sure to click the subscription bell to be notified of all my video uploads. I'm Ollie Matthews. This has been the Narcissistic Resistance. Take care.